God bless you guys. This is Sean here from Faith Brings Change. I just want to come on here and I want to share some stuff with you. And the angels, they're so hilarious and they like to do funny things to make me laugh. But they're showing me a lot of stuff. One of the words I got lately that really cracked me up, and this is speaking because the last video I spoken of the dog as in a positive way, and the animals in a positive way, and they are for a positive, but they can also be represented as a negative, the way demons use them, and I'll explain that for beasts. They can represent spiritual creatures, representing different things, and for the good, but they can also be for the evil. And I'll explain that. And I heard in my spirit, the Lord said, when I was half asleep, He said, they vilify, in order not to vilify the vegetable, they deify the dog. And and vegetables are good and everything. And in the Bible, before the fall, that's what man originally ate before the fall. It really, if you're able to do that and not eat meat, if you're able to, it's better. We know Daniel did that, but scriptures also say in the last day they would forbid man to eat meat. They would, which God created to be received. And the reason why God gave us meat to eat is because at the flood, women, they started mating with they started meeting with the Watchers. They were angels who took the form of people to look over the affairs of man, but they decided to start mating with those women. They produced giants offspring on the earth. They began to eat, people and teach people about cannibalism and different stuff, all kinds of stuff. And so God said, look, after He did the flood, no eating people. You can have meat, just don't. There's certain animals I don't want you to eat, but you can have meat. And so, in the perfect creation of God, it was like that. But Jesus, he ate broiled fish. He ate that. In heaven, there's meat without having to kill anything. God can do that because everything that you have, a body and everything, you have spirit, you have a soul. And they say animals don't have souls, and your soul is your mind. Animals have a soul or a mind. It's just not developed like ours. But basically, uh, there's a movement that says don't eat meat, or meat is bad and meat is bad, vegetables are bad. And he said they in order not to vilify the vegetable, they deify the dog. And I saw a scene of somebody having a broccoli stick, a woman, and she said, this is beast to eat and bad. Save him. And then she took a bite out of it. And beast actually means good. Beast actually means good, and that's why they gave that to me. And I thought that was hilarious. And then tried to lift it up like it was a sword to stab me with. But it's funny because yeah, beast translates to good. It says they'll call it good evil and evil good, basically. And it God does some hilarious stuff with that, but we have crazy translations for words and everything. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with physical animals, but there's a movement to try to save animals, and what it represents is saving that beastly nature. You're trying to preserve the beastly nature, but you're also making man into you're making them into like a villain, basically. You're making man look evil and beasts look good, and there's a propaganda where any but thing that is upright or created in the order of God is evil. And, anything that is evil is good. And so that beast is a front campaign, basically, to representing protecting the beast nature. And so they're trying to preserve that animalistic nature. And that's what this campaign represents. That's what it's all about. God told me going green is a front for that. Like some of the stars, like Alicia Silverstone, they said she'd gone nude to represent not to wear fur or whatever. But it's a campaign. She's doing it partially for herself. She's not doing it for that. She wants people to gawk after her, and also for her to look good like somebody who cares about people. And Jesus said, don't be like the hypocrites. You do a good work, don't let other people know what you do. They're trying to get attention when they go nude and all that, and they're trying to look like they're good, but you don't have to do all that. You know, if you're not going to eat certain meat, you don't have to do all that stuff, because it's not wrong to go want to go to more plant-based or something. But I'm saying there is a movement that's created it, they're responsible for it. It represents something that's evil. It represents it's the devil uses, like, words like that. Basically, he's trying to, it's what it represents is protecting the animalistic nature. The Black Lives Matter community, it's not like protecting the black. The Bible said the Ethiopians would follow at his heels, speaking of the Antichrist. It wasn't speaking primarily of a person because they have physical dark skin. It represents dark with knowledge, having, knowledge of evil or love of evil, that they would follow him. And the devil uses the Black Lives Matter as a front. You have that word front, where, like, for instance, there's this iceberg lounge in the new Batman movie. It's a front for whatever maybe it looks charitable or good, but it's really a front for, like, drugs and other things. So the devil uses the beast or the vegetable or the what do you call it? The Black Lives Matter community. These are all fronts to represent different things. So, that the animal, protecting the beast is that animalistic nature. And then the Black Lives Matter, it's protecting that dark nature that you have on the inside of sin. Don't get rid of the sin, protect it, save it. And so the devil likes to use people and things as marketing schemes. He doesn't care about God's creation. And so you got to be knowledgeable of those things out there that you're following, and be careful with them, and let's make sure why we're doing what we're doing is for the right reasons, because uh, there is most certainly that identity out there. The devil wants to give you a beast's identity. There's all this talk that we came from apes, we are animals. All this has to do with the agenda of the mark of the beast. He wants to convince you it's better to leave your identity as a human being and to become a beast, an animal. And so he wants man to look bad and beast to look good because it represents him, because those angels got turned into demons. So it's beast worship, bestiality. They want people to worship them. And you have the whole story of Beauty and the Beast, and I saw a image of that, of Alice marrying him, and it represented that people taking that mark of the beast, becoming one with the devil, because the people are the woman, and whoever the leader is like the husband or the man. And so the bride of Christ marrying the bridegroom is a people of God, but the bride of Satan is like, that's the people basically marrying that. And so they want you to leave your identity as a human being and get married to a beast instead of the Lord Jesus. And so it's representing a pledge basically. When you take the mark of the beast, you're leaving your identity, and God didn't offer salvation to beasts. He offered salvation to human beings. Those animals are without knowledge. He didn't need to save them, and he certainly didn't offer salvation to the fallen angels. Salvation's offered to us. And so when people take that mark, they're leaving. They're no longer human when they take that mark, is what he showed me. They're no longer human. They can't, their life expectancy is increased. They're not going to die like that. But they're only going to have 3.5 years before Jesus comes back. And so this is why he has to throw them alive into the lake of fire. He doesn't throw like their soul or something. He throws them alive into that. And so, it's a mystery to it, but I know that this mark is going to be able to make people that are in wheelchairs walk. It's going to be able to make the blind see, the deaf hear. These are the counterfeit miracles partially that he's doing through medical science, and he's saying we don't need the Lord Jesus therefore. And Jesus says if you seek to save your life, you will lose it, but if you lose your life for my sake, you'll save it. And so he's going to say, what profit does Sean or any of these people have to tell you? He's telling you that you have to maybe die and lose your physical life to keep it. But if you take this mark, you're never going to die. But the problem is you're stuck in a sin body forever. And that's only going to last for 3.5 years about to when Jesus returns, I'm speaking after the rapture. And so, because we're going to go through half of the tribulation, he said. And so we want to be careful. We need to be careful about what agendas we're linking up with and everything, because there are fronts in the world that are for other things. And and you know, just be careful and stuff. And Jesus said in the New Testament, and this is why people hate a lot of this stuff, he gave Peter the vision of the meat that was clean to eat, a four-footed beast, and he told him to eat, kill and eat. And so this was a vision, of something. This was probably a construct of some kind God created in his mind. But if he had done that, he wouldn't have sinned. And people say no, he was just speaking metaphorically only. But he was speaking metaphorically, but also to speak to that physical issue. When God said don't eat unclean meat, he was saying don't eat unclean doctrine. Because before the fall of man, all things were clean. There was nothing that was unclean about it. Before the fall, there was no corruption in the animal. There was no animal eating any bad thing in the garden. There was nothing like that. It wasn't the fall that caused that. It says the eagle is an unclean beast, but what you have representing Jesus when he rises, you have a flying eagle, and it's the fourth beast. Or for his also. It's also the fourth beast representation of the world government. We have that as a symbol of America, but it's unclean under the fall. But in heaven, all those animals are clean. If they weren't clean, God would not have made them. They have pigs in heaven. They have everything, but they're not unclean there like they are here, because there's dirty stuff on the earth and there's dirty stuff people eat or maybe whatever. But Jesus talked about, doesn't make you unclean what goes into you, but what comes out of you. Because what goes into you is digested through the body, waste. But what comes out of you makes you unclean. The words, the anger, all the bad stuff against your neighbor. Those are the things that make you unclean. And yes, you have to, you should eat healthy and everything, because there are certain foods and everything that can kill you, or they can decrease your life, or like for me, it's one of the things I'm thinking about. It's probably giving up sodas and everything. It's bad. But but we're talking about concerning laws of God and everything. And there's this law that says, some people out there think God's going to throw your soul in hell if you ate of some certain meat or something. And nowhere is that written of in the New Testament. The unclean meat represented don't eat unclean doctrine. And he did have them do it as a physical type, because he wanted to teach them about spiritual things. Because we had the Lamb of God that they sacrificed, they were told to, for salvation of people. But that was until Jesus came. And so when the understanding came of what it was that we were doing, it passed away from being a physical thing and went to a spiritual thing that they're doing. And so we don't have to sacrifice animals. Now we know that in the New Testament, because we're told that by Paul. But the Lord told me, and you might be new out here, and I wasn't going to say this on a lot, but the Lord told me I'm the end time Elijah. He told me that in the dream, January 28th, 2021. And so I have as much authority to Paul as to speak on this, and that's the only reason why I'm bringing up the name. And so I'm telling you what he told me. He was sitting right by me, gave me this food, and I said, "But isn't this unclean according to your standard?" And he said, go ahead and eat this. And I was saying, so you're saying what I've been hearing you saying is correct? And he said, yes, at the least. And basically I was saying, well, I guess I'll do this until I'll eat this meat until the start of the tribulation, because there's going to be a judgment. And to prove that it's not going to get me in any kind of judgment or any trouble, I'm going to go through it. And he said, do it, basically. And then when it's done, I'm not going to eat of that, to teach people, other things. But because I'm trying not to be a stumbling block to people, but I want to teach people that you're not going to get judged for that, because it's a serious misjudgment in the church. And I know there's this idea to want to go back to the Jewish roots. I get it. We got to be careful, though, because there are a lot of people that are going so far into the Jewish roots. They are siding with the Jews who, the same Jews that rejected Jesus, don't believe he's their Messiah. They also don't believe in hell, and they're rejecting that. But the Bible says the Antichrist, the people who take the mark, are going to be burning. They believe it's just a fire that goes out and is going to kill you and extinguish you. But the Bible says that they're going to be tossed in the fire. They're never going to rest day and night. They'll be forever in torment. Their smoke will be going up forever. They'll never rest. And so there are people out there, that believe that and teach that. And the danger with that is a person, if they think, well, if that's gonna happen, well, if I'm an atheist, it doesn't really matter, because if I go in the ground and die and I'm nothing, or I'm tossed into a fire and I'm eventually nothing, then there's no problem for me. And so this encourages people to stay in their sin. It leads them in the wrong place. It's very dangerous for them. It's harmful to them. And so I don't preach on the things that are not harmful to people, but the necessities. Whatever is necessary for people's protection, I'm going to say to them. I'm not going to withhold from them things, because I don't want them to go into any dangerous place. And so just got to be careful with the doctrines out there, guys, because there's a lot of play on politics, and this is kind of a lot of what this video is about, guys. You got to be careful. Pay attention to what's being said. What are they really saying, trying to teach you out there? Examine the doctrines. Is this something that's going to lead somebody into a dangerous place? But I know there are a lot of people who will get mad about this stuff, about the whole meat thing, because of that movement, and in the church, because us wanting to go back to Jewish roots and stuff. And I'm for keeping the commandments and everything. But the dietary laws, they represented something, like when he says, don't sow two kinds of seeds in your field. That means don't sow the good seed of the Lord and the evil seed of the devil, or you're going to be confused. You're going to get Babylon, and the evil will overtake the good. Don't wear mixed fabrics. It doesn't mean because wearing a certain fabric, polyester or cotton or whatever they say, is evil. It's representing, don't put on a garment of violence and a garment of love towards somebody else, and violence towards somebody else. We got to walk in love, and people say there's certain people it's okay to hate, and it's not okay to hate anybody. There are people that think it's okay to hate somebody because they're not a believer or something, and that's evil. And the devil pretends to be Jesus, and he pretended to be him and me partially in that book of Harvest, that I wrote of, and I had to learn the hard way. And so we need to watch what spirit we're following, what doctrines we're following. The devil likes to make God look to be out to be some tyrant or something, so people will never follow him. He'll make sure that the people get abused by somebody along the way, so that somewhere along the way they're going to credit that to being God. So to encourage them to not follow God and be saved, not follow Jesus. It's all a hoax, basically. He's trying to keep them away from the Lord. So we need to do everything in our power to make sure that we're promoting love. And when we do judge, we need to examine our heart to see if we're in the faith. If there's the burden of personal interest in our heart, if we have wounds and things we're judging from, we need to get those things out. We need to be quiet and not say anything, and judge from a point of view wanting to help somebody. Because there are exposure videos out there, and they major on wanting to keep somebody down when they've fallen into sin. The first time I came on this channel, they were kicking a guy. He got caught in a major sin, and he was crying and saying he's going to get help, and they were still doing exposure videos. So basically what they're doing, they're kicking him while he's down to make sure he never gets up again, that he never goes up and repents to the Lord. And that's evil, guys. And so when a celebrity or person falls, we should not be kicking them down. We should figure out how to help them get up. If you want to talk about something, why do we major on exposing the people who are unbelievers, and we don't first judge ourselves? And this is one of the things that I've never understood in the church. And so what his original intent for sending me is to be a judge, arbitrator over both the Jew and Gentile. Gentile is another nation, and Jew is not just a physical Jew. Jew means a worshiper of God. And so anybody who worships God the Father, Jesus, is a Jew. But he didn't come for just the Jews, he came for the Gentiles also. He wanted to save everybody. And so we need to make sure we're not alienating them just because we favor our certain, movement out there or something. And so when we go through these things, let's make sure we have love and understanding and we're not bitter, toward anybody when we do this. But guys, I hope this blessed you. You can leave a comment in the comment section. If you want to know more about that alleged thing, I'll have to make a video sometime and talk about it. It's just, I'm trying not to do it so much anymore. I only do this stuff when I have to sometimes, because he gave me this name because there are certain things that people said, this is not God, that's not God. And he gave me a name because, I needed a place to preach from. My authority was stripped from me in the earth. I was rooted up because of a lot of bad stuff. And so he gave me it in a new form, basically. But I love you guys. I'm going to let you go. I am praying for you. And until next time, shalom.